You're watching WWAY News at 6.
Right now on your news at 6, Vice President Mike Pence is expected to arrive in the port city in the next half hour. We are live at ILM with an update. Plus, North Carolina Democrats are reacting to the Vice President's visit to the port city tonight, what they have to say. And we've got an update on Plan B learning at pre-Ks in New Hanover County. We check in with the local school to see how the educators and students are adjusting. Thanks for joining us tonight for your news at 6. I'm Hannah Patrick. Randy Aldridge has the night off. Vice President Mike Pence will be in Wilmington tonight. He's expected to be at Wilmington International Airport at 6:30. Our own Matt Bennett is live at ILM now with a look at the crowd and what we can soon expect. Matt, what can you tell us?
Hannah, people are continuing to file in here at Wilmington International Airport, and organizers are scrambling to bring in more chairs to seat them. The pre-program began around 5:30, and we heard from Congressman David Rouser, who touted the president's accomplishments over the past 4 years and denounced former Vice President Joe Biden and his policies. Air Force 2 is expected to touch down here at ILM within the next half hour. This is the Vice President's third stop in the Carolinas today, campaigning for President Trump. First stopping in Greensboro, then Greenville, South Carolina, and finally here in the port city. North Carolina is one of several states that has become a focus of both campaigns. It looks like roughly half of the people here are wearing masks, although there have been announcements asking people to put on masks and offering free masks to those without them. Now, the rally will be streaming live on our website, WWAYTV3.com, starting in just a few minutes, and we'll have continuing coverage coming up on WWAY CBS at 7 and tonight on your news at 11. But for now, live in Wilmington, Matt Bennett, WWAY News. Hannah?
Thank you, Matt. And North Carolina Democrats are responding to Vice President Pence's visit today. Local and state Democratic candidates coming out today to make another last push of their own. Our own Kylie Jones was out there today. Kylie, with just a few days left of early voting, what are they saying?
Hey, Anna, Democrats called Vice President Mike Pence's rally this evening a likely super spreader event, saying their event today was a stark contrast. With nearly 5 million votes already cast in the state, Democratic candidates said their work isn't over yet. Representative Deb Butler, Senator Harper Peterson, City Councilman Kevin Spears, and a number of state Democratic candidates came out to the 1898 Memorial in downtown Wilmington today. Candidates emphasized the need for every voter to show out this year, saying the 2020 election runs straight through North Carolina. Over the last few months, the Trump administration and family have made numerous visits to North Carolina, and namely the Cape Fear region. However, we haven't seen quite as big of a presence recently from the Biden campaign in Wilmington. Peterson says he thinks that speaks to how seriously former Vice President Joe Biden is taking the coronavirus pandemic.
He believes it's real, and we see through data, statistics that it's coming back, it's going up. He understands that. So large crowds, unbridled audiences without masks is not his style. And I think the American people appreciate that. He is out in public, but in a different way.
They feel that North Carolina is in the plus column for them. I don't say that they have ignored North Carolina. They've sent emissaries. Doug Emhoff has been here several times. Kamala Harris has been to North Carolina several times. So has Cory Booker. So a lot of top surrogates have come to North Carolina.
At today's event, North Carolina Democrats put a focus on clean drinking water, funding for public education, and Medicaid expansion. Some contentious issues not only statewide but nationwide, especially in the middle of this pandemic. Democrats also highlighted North Carolina being a bellwether state. Peterson put an emphasis on just how many key races there are this year, all the way from the seat for president all the way down to our local offices. Hannah?
Thank you, Kylie. And there are only 4 days left to vote early in North Carolina. Any registered voter or eligible individual in North Carolina may cast an absentee ballot in person. Ballots cannot be dropped off at polling places on Election Day. The deadline for requesting absentee ballots ended at 5 p.m. today. For more information on where you can go vote in the Cape Fear, you can head to our website at WWAYTV3.com. In other news, starting November 16th, you'll have to start paying again for WAY transit services. Forden Station and Paget Station, WAY Transit's two main transfer centers, will reopen to the public at full service. WAY Transit says all vehicles will be equipped with personal protective barriers around the operator compartment. Sanitizing stations were installed in all vehicles and facilities. Disposable face masks are currently available to customers upon request. For more information and the full list of prices, you can head to our website at WWAYTV3.com. New Hanover County schools have been operating under Plan B for a few weeks now. So today we checked in with Johnson Pre-K Center to see how the young learners are doing with modified school schedules. Sydney Bouchel has the story.
Are you glad to be in here with your teachers now?
Students welcomed back to the classroom under Plan B with open arms but socially distanced.
They're just excited to be here. And you see the smiles through the masks. It's great.
Johnson Pre-K Center Principal Dr. Karen McCarty says the 3- and 4-year-olds are learning to interact in a new way.
The kids are challenged by, we can't hug them. We can't high-five them. We're teaching them the elbow bump.
The adults are challenged differently.
Since we're not big on technology here at the pre-K level, adjusting to the remote instruction with the limited amount of technology we do have in our building has been one of the biggest challenges for not only our teachers, but also our families as well.
Teachers like David Nash are glad to have them back in the classroom.
They're getting a lot of interaction with their peers, and then we can interact, and it's easier to see what kinds of things they can do versus guessing sometimes over the Zoom.
Nash says frequent cleaning and hand washing is typical for preschool, but it's definitely more rigorous now, cleaning high-touch areas every hour. He says many parents still have concerns choosing to keep their children at home, and he is one of them.
It goes both ways. Being with these kids in the classroom makes me more mindful at home, and being at home with my kids makes me more mindful of my children in the classroom.
Mindful but grateful to be back.
It's just good to get them back in here and get that face-to-face interaction for me, because I can see their needs and I can work on meeting their needs.
In New Hanover County, Sydney Bouchel, WWAY News.
Students in the Cape Fear are getting a first look at public safety work. Up next, we take a look at a public safety demo at Southeast Area Technical High School. Plus, the Biden-Harris campaign commissioned 8 black artists to create inspirational murals for voters. We have a look at one in North Carolina.
Wednesday is going to be another nice day to be out and about. Temperature nearing 80 degrees inland. We have partly cloudy skies on the beaches with highs in the mid to upper 70s. A low risk for any rip currents. Water temperatures actually risen a degree. Now it's 74.
Let's take a look right now and see what's happening in the Ways community. We are seeing some slowdown still on College Road near Oleander Drive and Shipyard Boulevard. Also seeing a report of an accident. This looks like it is on 421, reported about 30 minutes ago on 421, so be aware of that. And then we're also seeing some slowdown, it looks like, over on Market Street in the Ogden area. But no other accidents to report at this time. Both bridges looking clear up in Pender County. 17 clear through Hampstead. 210 looking good. 40 looking good. And then over in Brunswick, Bladen, and Columbus County, 17 looking clear. 74, 76 also looking good at this time. Make sure to join Operation Gridlock and the WWAY team on the Waze app. We are back with the big race. Tonight, President Trump saying he has a solid chance of winning the presidential election, especially after his campaign blitz over the past week.
His campaign expects a surge of Republican support at the polls today to give him that necessary edge. He has also hinted at legal action and again criticized a Supreme Court ruling that allows Pennsylvania to count postmarked ballots received up to 3 days after the election. On the other side, the Biden campaign spending today dividing and conquering, making appearances in the key battleground states of Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Florida, and here in North Carolina. Today, his campaign says they feel it's clear they are winning.
And here in North Carolina, Senate candidate Cal Cunningham arrived at a polling location in Durham this morning to speak with supporters. He faces incumbent Tom Tillis for the seat. Tillis also was seen at the polls today casting his vote.
Well, look, I'm staying focused on the issues that North Carolina voters are bringing to me. Top of mind is health care, who's going to advance health care and who's voted to take it away. I'm going to work to bring down costs and extend coverage. I'm going to work to invest in public education, work to fight the climate crisis. These are among the most important issues that voters are bringing to me as a candidate and the things that I'm going to champion on Capitol Hill.
You know, I think that you have to look at the body of work, and what I really have enjoyed is getting a lot of very important things done. You know, I did criminal justice reform back when I was Speaker of the House. I was happy to get that done here. I was happy to see tax cuts because that's how you get the economy going. I was happy to see historic increases in military spending, historic pay raises for service members, turning the VA around.
For all the info on this Senate race, tune into WWAY News at 11.
And the contest between Democratic Governor Roy Cooper and Republican Lieutenant Governor Dan Forest is among a few governor's races across the country that are being closely watched today. Cooper is banking on the support of voters who approve of his handling of the coronavirus, while Forest aims to appeal to business owners and school parents dissatisfied with the state's slow reopening.
We are not done yet. How's the weather going to be at the polls for the rest of the night?
Well, Lee will let us know right after this. Stay tuned.
In Brunswick County, people 75 years or older can schedule appointments for a COVID-19 vaccine beginning tomorrow at 9 a.m. It's part of the health department's transition to Phase 1B Group 1 of the state's vaccination plan. Under Phase 1B Group 1, anyone 75 years or older who does not live in a congregate living facility is eligible to receive the free vaccine from Brunswick County Health Services. To schedule an appointment, you can call the Public Health Call Line at 910-253-2339 and select the option for vaccine information. Listen to the prompt and then select the option to enter the queue to schedule an appointment.
New Hanover County Public Health will begin providing vaccines to the first group in Phase 1B of the vaccine plan Thursday. Adults who meet the Phase 1B criteria should call the Coronavirus Call Center at 910-798-6800 to sign up for a time to get a vaccine. The call center is open weekdays from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. You can find much more information about vaccine scheduling on our website, WWAYTV3.com.
The Bladen County Health Department will also move into Phase 1B of the vaccination plan tomorrow. Anyone in that group can call 910-862-6900 extension 6220 to schedule an appointment to receive the COVID-19 vaccine.
And Pender County residents in Phase 1B Group 1 can also schedule an appointment with the health department. There'll be vaccinations offered Thursday at the Hampstead Annex. To schedule an appointment there, call 910-259-1230. The health department says you cannot receive the shot if you have tested positive for COVID within 30 days prior to getting the vaccine.
And finally, the Columbus County Health Department will move to Phase 1B this Monday, January 11th. Beginning Thursday, anyone in this group can call 910-640-6615 extension 7006 to schedule an appointment to receive their COVID-19 vaccine.
You're watching WWAY News at 6.
America still in shock tonight following yesterday's deadly attack on the U.S. Capitol, how current lawmakers and the next administration is responding.
And a grenade sold in Brunswick County could be responsible for the death of a teenager in Virginia. The ATF still hoping you can help give them more information.
And more tonight on COVID-19, including an interview with the UNCW men's basketball coach about how this season is being affected.
Hello, and thank you for joining us tonight for your news at 6. I'm Hannah Patrick.
And I'm Randy Aldridge. Good evening. We're going to start tonight with more on those deadly attacks in Washington. Just one day after protesters laid siege to the United States Capitol, questions remain about how it could have happened and what happens next.
President Donald Trump has remained behind closed doors today and still has not condemned his supporters who stormed the Capitol yesterday. Transportation Secretary Elaine Chao resigned her post, citing yesterday's violence as the reason for stepping down. While the cleanup continues on Capitol Hill, questions remain about how the protesters could make it into the Capitol in the first place and why the police weren't better prepared to handle the planned protests. Some Trump cabinet officials have discussed invoking the 25th Amendment to remove the president, claiming he is unfit to hold office. Even allies are blaming the president for inciting violence.
And he clearly has indicated that over and over again. And by inciting sedition, as he did yesterday, he must be removed from office.
The president needs to understand that his actions were the problem, not the solution.
The government is now moving in 6,200 National Guard members and installing 7-foot-tall fences to prepare for the inauguration. Meanwhile, the Department of Justice announced it has been working through the night with federal authorities to help identify some of the people who stormed the Capitol and expects to file the first federal charges today.
And here in North Carolina, about 60 people protested outside the state capitol in Raleigh yesterday. A group formed in support of President Trump. Soon after, another group formed on the other side of the street opposing their argument. And like many events that have unfolded in the last year or so, the events on Capitol Hill will inevitably end up in textbooks.
Sydney Bushell spoke to educators today about what this means now and what parallels can be drawn in our history. Sydney, what did you learn today?
Hi guys. Well, like many Americans, some of the educators I spoke with today were disheartened as they watched everything unfold on Capitol Hill yesterday. But one says this isn't the first time in our history that something like this has happened.
The last 10 years teaching American government has been difficult to say the least, but I think working today was the hardest day I've ever had.
Educators reflecting on the chaos that unfolded on Capitol Hill on Wednesday.
How do we feel about ourselves? Who are we? That's the question that we need to answer after the events of yesterday.
Cape Fear Community College political science instructor Nelson Bollier says you'd expect to see events like this in places like Peru, South America, and Eastern Europe, places with unstable democracies.
The world has, for over a century, looked to the United States as a shining city on a hill, as a beacon. And I don't know how the world can recover from having watched what they watched. I don't know how we can feel the same about ourselves today.
Praying this marks an end and a beginning, Bollier says growing from 2020 not only means the absence of a pandemic.
It's the absence of a mindset that has driven us to these far reaches of political polarization. And eventually you lose touch with the planet and gravity just loses its hold and it'll take us far away. So I hope we can come back to center.
An ideal echoed by UNCW Assistant Professor of History, Dr. David Haupt.
The country and its institutions have persevered through stuff like this in the past, but only through a commitment to fundamentally working together.
Drawing parallels to events in our history.
I'm starting with a rebellion in 1786 or 1794 or 1812. What you have are people who believe that the government or the officials are no longer representing the public will, and therefore they feel justified in using violence.
Noting that eventually we managed to come together after the Civil War and the 1898 massacre.
To get those people to feel like they are heard, while also ensuring that they accept when they're not in the majority, that's the struggle of democracy right there.
Dr. Haupt added that people should study American history to help put these events in perspective and reflect on what it means to be self-governed, but most of all, to not let pessimism take over and to remain positive and hopeful. Reporting live in Wilmington, Sydney Bushell, WWAY News.
Thank you, Sydney. And yesterday's events have reminded many of the 1898 coup in the city of Wilmington. There are parallels, both claimed lives. The Star News reporting that one woman was shot and killed in Washington. 3 others died of medical emergencies yesterday. Even more tragically, in 1898, an untold number of African Americans were murdered in the streets of Wilmington by their neighbors who shot them by the dozens. However, in contrast to yesterday's attempted coup, to this day, Wilmington is still the nation's only successful coup of a sitting government. And just before 4 this morning, despite everything that happened, Vice President Mike Pence accepted the electoral votes from all 50 states and declared President-elect Joe Biden the winner. Pence rejected President Trump's insistence that he could overturn the election results. After authorities regained control of the Capitol building, some Republican lawmakers publicly dropped their objections to the electoral votes from certain states. However, a handful of Republican senators continued their challenge, which brought pushback from their colleagues. At the end of the session, Texas Senator Ted Cruz, who voted to reject the electoral count from Arizona and Pennsylvania, was finally calling for unity and a peaceful and orderly transition of power.
Now to the latest on the coronavirus. Here at home, New Hanover County has now launched its vaccination sites for those 75 and older. Based on the number of vaccines available, sites should remain open through Tuesday. Residents can go to either the Health and Human Services building or the Senior Resource Center. Appointments must be made beforehand. And today, the state has seen a surge in cases with more than 10,000 new cases reported. The daily percent positive is at 13.5%. This comes a day after Governor Roy Cooper extended the state's modified stay-at-home order that requires people to be at home between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. Now an update to a story we've been following in Brunswick County. The ATF has released new information on the grenades that were sold at a business in Charlotte. One of them killed a Virginia teenager on December 23rd. The ATF is still asking for your help finding the second grenade sold. They believe it may contain live explosives and could be dangerous. The grenades were bought in June of last year at the Fancy Flea Antique Mall on Ocean Highway West in Charlotte. The World War II grenades were believed to be inert when they were sold. If you have any information that could help, head to our website to contact the ATF.
The New Hanover County Sheriff's Office says a woman was stabbed several times and then thrown from the balcony of her second-story apartment.
Police say they have a suspect charged and in custody. Peyton Furtado went to the first court appearance this afternoon. Today, Peyton, what did you learn?
Well, Hannah, according to the police, Stallings has been charged with first-degree attempted murder, stabbing a woman more than 15 times. Other charges include assault in front of a minor. According to attorneys, there was a child present throughout. Assault with a deadly weapon. Police say he used a pocket knife to stab the victim more than 15 times, 5 of those in the neck. First-degree burglary, kicking down the door, and communicating threats. This all happened at about 8 p.m. yesterday when police say the suspect broke in and assaulted the victim while she slept. Attorneys say they were supposed to meet the 26-year-old woman this morning to finalize plans for a restraining order.
Again, the last words out of her mouth when I spoke to her yesterday evening was that she was looking forward to meeting with me so we could get working on the 50B protective order, and that she was very scared.
In court today, one attorney called this the most horrendous case of domestic violence he's faced in over 40 years. The judge set Stallings' bond at $5 million this afternoon in his first court appearance. If he makes bond, he'll be placed under house arrest and is not allowed to contact the victim or the child. His next court date is January 28th, and according to officials, the victim is in stable condition in the hospital, though she did sustain several stabbing wounds and 2 collapsed lungs. Live in Wilmington, Peyton Furtado, WWAY News.
Sports Director Tanner Barr talks with the UNCW men's basketball head coach when we return.
They'll talk about just how bad COVID-19 is affecting the season, with 4 games already canceled.
And the Tar Heel State rolling out more vaccines. We hear from some people who are getting theirs this week.
And we've had several dry days across the Cape Fear, but as we head into Friday, we'll wrap the week up with a good chance for rain. It's also to be chilly and breezy. Those complete details and a look at the weekend forecast are straight ahead.